Hi guys, welcome to the Wednesday session of Network Educate Invite. It's good to have you all along here today. I think we're up to about our third or fourth session today. Today, our guest speaker is Alan Stevens, international profiler and man of mystery. Alan he's one of these people. I've mentioned it to a few people in the group. I used to be terrified of talking to Alan because he can read your face and he knows exactly where you're up to. And somebody being a career salesman, that always used to worry me, that whether people could see straight through me. I think I've gained his trust, and he's never told me anything bad. So he's actually having a chat with us today about how you can read faces, profile people, and sell more. And let's face it, at the end of the day, we're business people, and as a business person, sales is the key thing within your business. Doesn't matter how good you are at what you do, how analytical you can be. If you can't close a client, you don't have a business. So anything that can give you an edge over, I was going to say your competitor, but an edge over your customer to make sure that you're going down the right line has got to be absolutely huge. So let's do the shout outs. So I'll start off. My name's Jason Wormsley. I'm the National Sales Manager of BBX and the founder of Network Educate Invite. What we do is BBX runs a trade exchange where over 8,000 businesses around Australia prefer to deal with each other, and we allow people to trade goods and services without the need for cash. Alan, let's jump on to you. We'll learn a little bit more about you later, but tell us a little bit now.
Well, very quickly, I'm a profiling communication specialist, which is all about being able to read people, to understand their personalities, their emotions, to be able to build stronger relationships with them in all areas of your life.
Fantastic, thanks. And we'll learn a little bit more about you, Alan, as we go through. I've actually done one of Alan's courses, and they're very, very good. And so I'm looking forward to what he comes through with today. Paul, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Paul Skeen from Fintrans. I'm a finance broker. We help small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, get equipment and cars for their business. Just try and make the process as nice and easy as possible. Everyone's got enough stress in their life at the moment, so try and make it as easy as possible. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Paul. And we have a newbie today, Joanne.
Thank you. I'm Joanne with Good Talent Media. We're a PR firm, so we help organisations promote and protect, so build their brands and set them up as industry leaders, and help them with reputation risk management as well, which includes media training.
Fantastic. Thank you. Joanne and I had a really, really good chat the other day, and yeah, it's good to have somebody as part of the network that understands that what your avatar is all about. Everybody knows that's a big thing for me, and PR is something that can really help that. So if anybody needs any PR, highly recommend using a good PR consultant that's actually from your area. You know, it's all well and good using a PR company in Adelaide. They haven't got a clue what goes on the Central Coast of Newcastle. Kel.
Hey folks, yeah, Kel from the Transformational Hub. We're productivity experts, so we help with both the systems mindset and the people, so through an outsourced team as well. So really about trying to create that freedom and the time that everybody loves, or everybody gets into business for. But yeah, quite often we get too bogged down in getting all the stuff done. So here to give you some freedom.
Beautiful. Thanks, Kel. John?
Yeah, John Ferrer here. I work for B Connect. The same thing as Jason explained earlier. There's no need for introduction.
Oh, that's it. Cop out, mate. Stroll. What Jason said, that'll do.
Yeah, what Jason said.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. All right. And what did I say last week? Ben Mackey is always late. Ben has just joined the room. Ben, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thanks for that kind introduction, Jason. You'll be pleased to know I literally skipped off a BX meeting where I gave yourself and Mr. Andy Prosser a glowing shout out. So yeah, you can go back and watch that one later. For those of you at home, I'm Ben Mackey, the Director of Scribe Copywriting. At Scribe, we help you to perfect your marketing message, attract new leads more easily, and you get your time back free to focus on doing whatever it is that you do best.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Ben. And Ben actually has just produced all the copy for the new website that we're building. So thank you very much for doing that for us. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to throw over to Alan. So Alan, as I said, he's going to talk to us about how to read faces, profile people, get more sales, get a better, probably even in your relationships. Now, in the chat box, guys, so if you go down to the bottom of your screen, you can hit chat. I've actually put the link in there for one of Alan's free courses, and it's a really, really good course. I've done it, and I walked off there going, oh my God, how good was that? So I actually profiled the whole family and went, oh, yeah, I was right. There you go. So that's in there. It's also available when you're in the Mighty Networks app or the website. On the left-hand side is this week's sponsor. So that link will be up there until Monday morning. But please go on, do one of the courses. It's free and it's an eye-opener. So I'm now going to sit back and chill for the rest of this and let somebody else do the talking. So please welcome Alan.
Thanks very much. Okay, while we go through this, before I put my slides on, what I wanted to ask each of you is that the best way to show how this works is do a bit of a demonstration. So is everybody open up for me just making a few comments about what I'm seeing on your faces if we go through the thing? Okay. So don't know whether Josh is going to be into it, but I've already picked a few traits of Josh's that John's got, and I'm looking forward to going through those.
I'd like to know those.
I'm ready as well. Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do, I'll give you a bit of a rundown about how all this works, a bit of the science behind it, and I've got a few questions to ask you in the first place. That you can see the slides there at the moment. Just give me a thumbs up. Excellent. Okay, rightio. As Jason said before, using the facial profile, and we can use it in every area of your life, and not just in sales. It's all about how do I read somebody to understand them better. Also knowing where I am on the scale and knowing how to change the way I like to be spoken to and treated to match the way that they want to be spoken to and treated. In sales, we've got to make a connection with our clients to be able to do that. With our loved ones, with our colleagues, it's the same thing again as well. But what I'd love you to do in the chat box, just quickly put in a 1 or a 2 if you think that, well, a 1 if service and products are more important, or number 2 if relationships are more important. So we're getting 2s there. And that's pretty correct. However, what I've actually done is, it's not really a true question, because it's a matter of priority and importance. Both are equally important. You don't have a business if you can't, first of all, attract people, and then number 2 is be able to have a good product or service to provide to them. So you've got to have both. So they're both important, but the priority is you've got to build the relationship first. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. So here's a rhetorical question for you, or a couple of questions. How do you build relationships right now? And how do you know if you can trust somebody? What measures do you use? And also, what do you do that helps others to trust you as well? So how do you behave towards them? Because the old saying of treat others as they would have you treat, so you would have them treat you, is accurate when it comes to respect and treating people with dignity. But it's a truer statement when you say treat others as they would have you treat them when it comes to building relationships. And by that, you need to be able to speak to them in the right way. Now, in communications, we've got words, we've got the tone of voice, and we've got body language. The words, when we're talking face-to-face, are about 7%. The tone of voice is about 38%, and the body language makes up the remainder, which is 55%. So again, the question on this one is, which one's the most important? Well, again, they're all important. If you don't have the words, you don't have communications. If you don't have the tone of voice, then you don't have full communication. It's like you get a text, there's no tone of voice, there's no body language. So if I made a statement like, I didn't say she stole the money, and it's just a flat monotone sentence, there's no real focus on where the words are. But if I said, I didn't say she stole the money, you're virtually stating that I didn't do it, but somebody else probably did say it. I didn't say she stole the money, therefore I could have written it. So the inflection of it all goes into the words that we use. So tone of voice is extremely important. On the phone, when we're talking to somebody, we can't see the body language. The body language translates into the tone of voice. So what happens is the words gain a little bit more importance, but they only go up to about 17%. And the beautiful part of that is that 17% is pretty similar to when they talk about logic and emotion. We are 18% logic when we're making decisions and 82% emotions. So we make a decision on, we might need something, but what we actually get, like I need a car to get from A to B, but the type of car I buy will be totally emotional. It won't be a logical one. It could be, why would I go and buy a Lexus when I could have bought a Mini Minor if they do exactly the same job? It'll be on the emotional responses I have. So when it comes down to this, all three things are required for the communication, but the tone of voice and the body language will give you more. On the phone, again, you lose the body language, as I said, and it goes into the tone of voice, but face-to-face, body language is 55% of the communications. That we can't hear, but we can see when we're talking to somebody face-to-face. So if we look at that side of it, the old saying, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. You've got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. And I'm going to go through how the mouth really sits back in the background. It's more the eyes that are most important at this stage. You'll get all the information you need by looking before you even listen and before you even ask a single question. And the profile I'm going to take you through, I'm going to show you how to read people in a way in which you don't need to ask a single word. And use a single word or ask a single question. Just quickly, so that you can understand that some of what I talk about is going to sound a little bit woo-woo. So very quickly, I'll put this slide up, which shows a number of the different organisations I've worked with. The main area that's most important down the bottom right corner here is I do all this to uncover what makes people tick. If I understand what makes a person tick, I know how to communicate with them. I know how to get sales. I know how to build a relationship with them. If it's a staff member, how can I get that staff member to be loyal? At the moment, we have the old phrase that's floating around at the moment about working on your business and not working in your business. You never get a chance to work on your business if you haven't got staff who are working in the business. And the only way you get your staff working in the business is if they're loyal to you, they feel like they belong, that they contribute. So everything we do is about trying to build that relationship with somebody. The more we can actually connect with them, the better. Now, the new line that we're hearing all the time is nobody does any business with anybody they don't know, like, and trust. But the way I see most people doing the know, like, and trust is like this. They're trying to do it so fast, they're just jamming into each other. It's like 3 cars that just run into the tail of each other. To be able to get to know somebody takes a little bit of time, and then to get to like them takes a little bit more time. And then to trust them, there's more time again. There's a space between the two of them. The other week, I was driving down to Sydney and I took notice of the sign that said, travel 2 chevrons apart, those little V marks that are on the road. So 1 car's on one, you're supposed to be at the next one, 2 markers back. But what we're seeing is a whole bunch of cars in between those positions. And that's what ends up happening the way I see people doing know, like, and trust. They're rushing to get there and not really focusing on it. They're only playing lip service. Now, when it comes to your relationships and your business, the relationships are the foundation of a business. And we know that you build a skyscraper, it looks like nothing's happening for a long period of time. All the work is in going into building the foundation. Once they get up to ground level, the building goes up pretty quick. If you don't build strong foundations underneath the building to take the stresses and everything else, it's going to end up looking like this. And the same thing happens to your business. If you don't build your relationships, they're going to fall down. Now, I've gone through all that to really drive home the necessity for being able to build a relationship with people to see how it's going to impact on your business in a positive way or a negative way. Now, the way in which I do it, as I said, the know, like, and trust takes a period of time. But I work with this model. The top section up here is, I've first of all got to connect with somebody. Once I've connected with them, I can then engage with them, and I can also influence them as well. What I'll just do in the chat box, by the way, is just put that link in, this one at the top. There's a lot more detail on this, and you can download that later on to get a full explanation of all these areas around here. But basically, if we want to influence people, we've got to engage them first. And to engage them, we've got to be able to connect with them. This section up here, this is where we build the relationship. Once we've got the relationship built, then we can start to transition to where we can start proving our service will or product will meet what their needs, because we don't provide the product or service until we've found out everything else. And we find out it's not a matter of finding a customer for our product, it's finding the product that fits our customer. And that's a beautiful part about the work I do. No matter who comes to me, I'll listen to them, find out what they need, and then I can put together the product or service that they need. And it should be the same with any work that you're doing as well. So the read, communicate, and the most is most important. So in that model there, just at the top, the recognize or read. If I can read somebody, this is where understanding their personality comes in. If I can know how they receive information, how they take it in, how they process it, how they then are likely to respond in any given situation, I can then work on building trust, because now I know how to communicate with them, how much detail to give them, in what order I give it to them, and what style. Is it formal? Is it very structured? Or can it be fairly laid back, bit of jovial joking? Because I know there's a few people on screen here who've got dry sense of humour, and I could see that in their face before. And I know that Joanne's got that trait as well. So I know a conversation with Joanne's going to be quite laid back and enjoyable. So once you've got that trust, by talking to them in the right way, you get your feedback to whether you've read them right. And this is where the confirmation comes in. But you look at everything, is it in context with what we're looking at? You're looking at all the indicators, the non-verbals that tell you, is it congruent with what we're talking about? And by looking at them in clusters and a number of them, we then make sure that we've actually got the right understanding. Like one indicator on its own is not enough. I want to see, when it comes to understanding what I'm seeing back from, like body language, I want to see a whole bunch of indicators that point in the same direction. Because what I look at here is an ROR, a return on relationships. You'll always hear return on investment, get the sale, provide a great service to the person. But as I said, if you don't get the relationship right first, you won't get the return on investment. If you chase sales, it's like chasing a fox. The damn thing will run away and it won't stop until you stop, but you'll never get close to it. If you build the relationship, then the returns on investment will come. And the way I do this, and this is where it may sound a little bit woo-woo, your facial features tell me your personality. I can get that from your photographs, your LinkedIn profiles, your websites. So if I've got that and I know my own profile, I know how to change how I like to be spoken to match the way that you want to be spoken to. Then I have the feedback, or first of all, the language I can use. I know how to actually phrase it, as I had in the previous drawing, know how to phrase it and connect with you. But where I get my confirmation is through the body language and the micro expressions. And very quickly, micro expressions are little flashes on the face that happen the moment that something happens around you or something is said to you. Unconsciously, we react. The face will pull an expression, and then our conscious mind steps in and turns it off. And that's why it's called a micro expression. It can be as fast as 1/5 of a second down to 1/25 of a second. But funny enough, with a little bit of practice, we all can read them. Now, the 7 expressions, and some people look at this and go, well, they're my passport photos. But the different expressions are anger, contempt, disgust, fear and surprise, sadness, and happiness. Now, you'll notice there are 2 happy smiles. So 7 expressions in total, but you have the social smile, the polite smile, when your auntie's just given you another pair of socks for Christmas. Thanks very much, I appreciate that. But then if somebody gives you that Mercedes to drive around in, then you're really going to put a smile on your face. And that involves a little bit more of the face where different indicators come on. So those expressions will always give away how the person feels. You can't control them. You can try and make sure that you don't move your face, but your body language will give things away. We take in 2 million bits of information every second, and we process about 134 bits. So it's only a tiny fraction of what we can control. So the facial features, as I said before, this is where it tells me their personality, how they prefer to think and how they like to act. And how that works, as we just saw before, the micro expressions, the body language, everything we feel inside, we express outwardly. We also know at the same time, if we lift weights, we're going to build muscles in our body. So if we sit and we concentrate and we think in a certain way, I guarantee while you're concentrating deeply, you're going to be pulling expressions on your face. You're moving the muscles over and over again. And as you're doing that, you're going to then create ridges and crevices on your face that give away your personality. Gives away how you take the information in, how you process it, and how you're likely to react in any situation. And to prove just that everybody here is a profiler, in the chat box, guys, if you look at those three faces, then yes, they are the same face. All I've done is made the width of the faces slightly different in each case. But if you look at those three faces, 1, 2, and 3, which one looks the most confident to you? So Jason 3, Ben's 2, Carol 3, Paul 2. So you can see there that you've got 2s and 3s. Nobody's picked number 1 though, have they? But the whole thing is, all of a sudden you're realizing now you've all looked and you all made a decision on that person. So yes, you do profile. What I'm doing here now is to show you how to profile somebody the same as everybody else will do when they do it the right way. So it takes judgment out of the scenario and brings it to a scientific understanding of that person. Okay, in the chat box now, just put in again if you which one you think looks the most trustworthy. Okay, looks like you've all picked the same for the confident one and also the trustworthy. Quite often I get a variation of this. Some people will pick 3 as the confident and then pick number 2 as the trustworthy. It all comes down to that we all have our own way of reading people. So what I like to do is to move this back to being able to read everybody the same, like for each of us to read a person exactly the same. If I train people on how to read this and I've got 100 people in the room and one person walks in and I get them all to profile that one person, they'll pretty much all come to the same conclusion on that person's traits because we read it on a world scale of how it actually fits. But the 3 things that we notice in people's faces the first time we meet them, or anyone walks past us in the street, is the width of the face, the height of the eyebrows, and also the closeness of the eyes. Maybe you'll see the large gap between this one down the bottom and the narrower gap on this one. And we compare the width of the eye compared to the gap. So they're the 3 main traits that we see. But I work with about 68 traits, and we're adding some new ones to that at the moment. But as they say, don't tell me, show me. So with that, come off the screen. I've got you guys back again. So first of all, is this making sense to you? Just give me a thumbs up if it's making sense. Okay, excellent. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in your faces, just to give a demonstration of how this works, especially for not only for you guys, but the ones who are watching this recording later on. And come off mute when I'm talking to you so that you can answer and give confirmation, or you can tell me, yeah, you got it wrong. I don't care. We'll see how it all runs, okay? But one of the things, John.
Yep.
Would I be right in saying that when you start, so you're doing new projects, you like to have variety and you like to get them done quickly? You don't like to be doing the same thing over and over?
Really depends. If I focus on a project, I stick with it. But in terms of that project, there are a lot of variety of things that I need to get done. So yes and no, I guess.
And you can pull concepts together very quickly. So you've got an objective thinking style. You're happy to work on your own as well.
Yep, correct.
Yeah. So I know that with you, there's also a creative style that's in the shape of the eyebrows themselves. If I'm looking at Paul, for instance, Paul, when you're working on something, the details got to be there, and it's got, you know, things that are given to you, they've got to be exactly right.
Yeah, that's right. Part of the work we do, yeah, you need to have all the right information. So yeah, you're on the mark.
Yeah. So when you learn something new for the first time, would I be right in saying that you will go away, practice it, make sure you got it right? You don't just go out and tell everybody how it all works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if you look at Paul's face, this is longer and narrower face. This is somebody who builds their confidence. Now, by the way, there is no right or wrong trait. Every trait has an upside and every trait has a downside. The upside of, or first of all, the downside of the person who builds confidence, they take a while to get their head around things. So if you rush Paul to make a decision quickly, it ain't going to work. You know, he needs to have a time to look at it, work it out for himself, and he needs to practice it, be able to make sure he's happy with it. But I know that if he's working on a project, he won't come and give it to anybody else until he's got it absolutely right. So if he was working for me and I had a new project I was putting together and I had to get someone to do it for me and they had to have it right because this is a new procedure from now and into the future, I'm going to give it to Paul to do because I know he'll go away and he'll make sure he's got it absolutely right before he brings it back. But I won't let him, if I've got a time frame, it's got to be done quickly. I will let him know that he's going to come up with a lot of questions. Come back and ask me when you get those questions. Don't waste your time trying to work them out because that way I can then help him use his expertise to find all the answers and get it right. But I can also then help him go through those questions when they come up so we can narrow down the time it takes to fix the thing.
Alan, can I ask a quick question in regards to that?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, I'm using Paul because that's the one that you've just gone through and the shape of his face. Is that reflecting his modality? Are you saying that we can pick people's modality by the shape of the face, the size of the eyes and everything like that?
Yeah, we've got traits that are passed down, first of all, from our parents in the DNA, so what we call the nature traits. And then we have traits that we develop in response to our environment, which are the nurture traits. So as I jokingly say to people, between the age of 0 to 25, you have the face your parents gave you. And then after the age of 25 to 50, you have the face you give yourself. And depending on the audience and the response I'm looking for, I go, and after 50, you have the face you deserve. And so if you think about it, some of the traits are in the nurture, like the shape of the eyes, the positioning of them, the width of the face and things like that, that's passed down in the DNA from your parents. This is why, and we know that every cell of our body contains a memory of our ancestors, especially our mother and father, and then those go further back. That's why diseases get passed down through the family. Everything's in the DNA. So we have our basic building blocks, the beginning of our personality in the DNA, and therefore in the nature traits, as we call them, are in the facial shapes, etc. But if you think about it, the actual shape of the skull, for instance, changes because when we've got a young child, the sutures are all very small to our skull. They're not sealed or anything else. As we think and develop in different thought patterns, our brain takes a different shape to each other as we create synaptic connections. And as the brain grows, our skull also moves as well, because if it didn't, we'd end up having brain pressure and a lot of pain. It wouldn't last very long. So that's why the skull takes the shape of the growth of the brain. That's why there's no two skulls that are the same shape on the planet. Everybody's different. So if somebody thinks in a certain way, we know different parts of the brain fire up for different thought patterns, whether it be around the arts, whether it be numbers, whether it be words. They're different areas of the brain. And the synaptic connections will grow and the head will take a different shape. So those things are passed down, first of all, starting in the nature traits, but then how we then respond to things, the skull will then change more again with the growth of the brain. What's his name? Einstein, for instance, the parietal section of his brain, this back section over his skull back there, was 15% bigger than most people. The rest of his features fairly similar. But that's where his thought processes were for the work he does. And a lot of this stuff going back into history has proven what all the belief we have around this. There used to be a thing called phrenology. Bumps on their head would be serial killers and things like that. That's about character. I'm not talking about character. I'm not talking about the skull up here. Most of it's in the face, but the overall general shape of the skull, not the bumps. That is related to the personality. And personality and character are two completely different things. Personality is how we like to think and process. Character is what we are thinking and processing. So two people can look very similar. One could be a saint, one could be a sinner. And this is why I like being able to profile the people this way, because think of the people in your past that did the wrong thing by you, and you see anybody else that looks like them, straight away we go, something wrong with that person, and we push them away. And of course, they respond in kind because we treat them that way. They're going to respond back. And we've broken what could have been a great relationship. because one person can look very similar to another. One could be a saint, one could be a sinner. One's trying to figure out, how can I help everyone around me? How can I help you? And the other person is figuring out, how can I rip everybody off to get what I want, and I couldn't care about anybody else. So that's why this is not character, it's personality. But when I've got the body language and the expressions, when I'm talking to them, now I've got the feedback that allows me to then work out their character. First of all, have I read them right? Is there something emotionally going on? And that's great if you're doing sales to know if there's something emotionally going on, because you keep going with the sale, you're not going to get the sale if they're worried about something else. And thirdly, yes, I do use it for lie detection, but I use it more as a truth seeker than anything else. And that's my focus in doing that work. I'm just keeping an eye on the time there. So I know we had about 25 minutes. Is that right? So,
I want you to profile. I want you to profile Ben Mackey.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, well, just take your cap off so I can see your eyes, because you're in the dark there.
Yeah, don't know if it'll help.
Okay. Well, I can't really, what I'm looking for on Ben, the first thing I always look at, when I meet somebody for the first time, I want to know how high their eyebrows are up away from their eyes. And by the way, when we do this one, we look vertically through the pupil when they're looking straight at us. We look at the height of the iris, the colored section of the eye, and we look at where the eyebrow is, and is there a large gap? Would the iris itself fit into that gap, or would it be, too small? Think of George Clooney. His eyebrows are almost right down on his eyelids. And then you think of some of the actresses up there, they've got their eyebrows right up here, like geisha girls. They used to pluck their eyebrows out and paint them on here. So if somebody's got high set eyebrows, I give them more space when I meet them for the first time. I know that if I step into their space, they're going to feel uncomfortable. They're not going to hear anything I've got to say. They'll be worried about, why am I invading their space? So I always set up a space and allow them to have that space. So the first thing I look at is that. The second thing I look at, and it's a little bit difficult with the darkness there, but I know with John, for instance, with Joanne, you need all the information before you make, just come forward there again. Okay, close your eyes and then open them up again. Okay. Yeah. Ben's also analytical as well. Needs a little bit more information before he makes a decision. One of the things that I'm thinking that some of you guys would have found is you would have been talking to a client at the time, and it's at one stage or another, everything's been going fine, and then all of a sudden they've switched off. Just give me a thumbs up if you had that experience. Yeah, and that's because you're analytical. They just want if you've got somebody who just wants the overview, if they had to go from a mountain peak to another mountain peak, all they want to know is where's the bridge. The analytical people, you want to know, you'll go down the mountain peak, get all the information you can, go across the valley, get more information, look at going up the top and want to analyze that before you go up. And you might even decide, I don't even want to go up, there's not enough information here. And in Paul's case, the information he's got has got to be absolutely right. It's got to be exactly, everything's got to be in it, what do you call it, I's dotted and T's crossed, and everything laid out properly. That is in the exposure of the eyelids. You'll notice that when Ben looks straight at the camera, there's a slight gap. So he's analytical, but not as much as, say, I would say as Joanne. Because if you look at the eyelashes, there's a fold of skin just above it, and the eyelash is going underneath that fold of skin when you're looking straight forward. Joanne, if you just look into the camera and close your eyes and then slowly just open them up again. See how when Joanne closes her eyes, there's a fold of skin. The eyelash is there, there's a fold of skin above it, but the moment she opens her eyes, the eyelash goes up underneath that fold of skin. That's somebody who's analytical. So if I was a big picture person, somebody who just wants the overview, I'd be saying to Joanne, look, there is a lot of information here, but so I don't forget anything, I'm going to give the overview, and then you can ask all the questions you like. Now, if I start talking to Joanne and I start going and laying it out on the table and she wants to know more detail, I can then go back and say, look, Joanne, as I said before, I want to make sure I don't forget anything. And that's important to me that I don't forget anything because I want to do the right thing by you. And you want that too, don't you? I get a yes from her. I can go back to the verbal contract we've got, which is I can lay it out and then we'll go back and spend all the time going down into that information. When you guys are talking to somebody who's more big picture, They just, as I say, big picture, not so much big concepts, just want the least amount. They're looking at a rainbow. They're only interested in the top layer. You guys are looking at every color all the way through as you're going across. So if you're talking to them, look, there's a lot of information in here. I'm going to give you the overview, and then I'm going to let you ask the questions you want to ask. But if there's something there that you haven't asked when we finish, is it all right if I then tell you that then? Now, by doing that, by saying to them, I'm just going to give you the overview and then you ask the questions you want to ask, they know you're not going to talk at them. They know you're going to be talking with them. So straight away, they feel relaxed because they go, okay, right, they're not going to drift off. And so when you get through and they've asked their question, to go, remember I said before, there might be something there that you didn't ask that I believe you need to know. That boring stuff, we're there now. Is that okay? I usually get a bit of a giggle from them, and then I can say, oh, this is stuff you need to know, because it might be some check boxes for a financial planner, for instance, a few things legally you've got to qualify. So I can then talk to them in that way. Does this make sense to you?
Absolutely. Oh, that's an AV modality question, isn't it? Does that make sense? So it actually amazes me that I actually talk to all of you people, because I'm a big picture person. Yeah, and I didn't know I knew that many analytical people that I actually liked. So it's actually quite good.
See, the big picture, as well, as I said, somebody who's got the exposed eyelids, they just want the overview, the least amount of information, because they can make sense of that very quickly. It's got nothing to do with, oh, I can pull this concept, I can see that, and I can pull all these things together. The analytical person can do exactly the same, pull all these concepts together, but they want to know everything about it when they pull it together. They will take a lot of time. They'll need the information. I remember talking to a coach who said, he said, I'm a big picture person. I don't look at all the detail. And he said, I get somebody else to get all that for me. He just proved that he needed the information. He just got somebody else to do it for him. So you can see how when you can read somebody like that, you know how to put things in place so you can have that connection with them. I'll give you a quick example of one of the guys that I profiled, well, actually one of my students a couple of years ago. He had a builder. He was a builder, I should say, and he had two clients who were building 4 buildings. They were all going to be a different outlet for a new franchise. And the first one that he was going to put together was going to be the flagship. He came to me and he said, look, I've just quoted $2 million. They won't go above 1.6 and the deal's falling off the table. They're pulling back. They're not answering my emails as quickly as they were before. And I said, right, show me their faces. So over Zoom, he found one on Google and one on his LinkedIn profile. I had a look at both their faces and I said, right, the one you're talking to, the senior partner you're talking to about the money, stop talking money. This guy's all about service. He wants to receive great service and therefore he wants to give great service. Talk to him about how this building has to be spot on to get the clients in, because once he gets the clients in and it's filled, then they can move on to the next outlet, because they then have, and they only attract those people if the building was spot on. His business partner was the one who only liked starting new projects and getting them done quickly, but he's also about the money. So I said, when you talk to him, and this is why you're having the conversation with both, talk to this one about how it's important to have the building the right way for the service, and over to the other one, if we get the building the right way for the service, the end result is you'll have more people coming into the first one, you'll be able to move on to the second one sooner, you'll be able to get the clients in there quicker, and you'll get through all the projects faster. In the conversation, he added another $150,000 to his original quote and signed them off on it. Just because he knew how to talk to the way they needed to be spoken to. I was talking to a financial planner this morning who said he's very analytical, very technical. He said, I go through all this stuff. I show the clients how I can save them so much money. By the time they retire, they'll have all these millions. And he said, I show them my price, which is, $3,000 or whatever, piddly little amount compared to what I'm saving them, and they don't get it. What he hasn't realized is, he said, some of them get it and others, I get nowhere with them. The ones who get it are the ones who are focused around the money. The ones who aren't getting it, he's not finding out about why would this be a benefit to them. But if you understand their traits, you can talk that language straight away. You can cheat, as I call it, by as I said, joking with everybody, I'm a social media stalker. If I'm going to go and talk to you, I'm going to find your face. I'll go to LinkedIn, websites, Facebook. Once I've got that, I've got an idea of how to present to you. I know that when I go in and talk to Paul, for instance, yes, he's going to analyse it, but very quickly, once he's analysed, it'll be a case of just give me the best way to do it and get the hell out of the way and let me get it done. I know when he talks, he's going to be straight, concise, and it's going to be, he doesn't want me to waffle on with full embellished sentences. He wants it straight to the point. And I know that in the conversation, there's going to be a dry sense of humour there. So there's going to be a lot of quipping backwards and forwards. And I know we can joke and it can be a lighthearted conversation. So all of this I can see in his face before I go and see him. So I put my presentation together before I walk through the door. And then we make that connection faster. As I said, that know, like, and trust, you can close the gap between each of them and not run into the back of each other.
Beautiful. Look, I'm looking at the time, Alan, and we've done really well. I'm going to cut it off there because I want people to ring you if they want to know, if they want to know more. So I've just popped in the link again in the chat box. But as I said as well, when you go into the app or you go into the website on the left-hand side, click on this week's sponsor, and the link is there for Alan's free course. As I've done the course, it is a fantastic course. I profiled myself looking through it. I profiled the family. And it's absolutely fantastic. So before we finish up, anybody got any questions for Alan?
Yeah, I would. Are you basically suggesting, Alan, that in all of our dealings with leads, we should aim to chat with them in person or chat with them on Zoom as opposed to chatting with them on the phone?
Well, as I said, you can cheat. What I do, if I'm saying doing a cold call to an executive, for instance, I'll get their website photo or whatever up on my screen. I'll get them on the phone, introduce myself, and say, by the way, can I ask you a couple of questions? And I go, what? And I go, okay, have you had this situation? Now, if they're an analytical person, you had the situation where you've been talking to somebody and all of a sudden they've switched off. And then I'll pick another trait and I'll talk about having dealt with somebody with the opposite. Yeah, I've had that. And I've had that as well. Where are you getting that from? Oh, sorry, your face, but we're on the phone. And I said, no, I got your photograph here on my computer. And they go, you're getting that from my photograph? And I say, if I can get that from your photograph, if you had these skills, what relationship do you reckon you could have with your staff? What improvements can you have in your personal relationships and your salespeople? You reckon they'd be able to value add to the sales with their clients, be able to get more clients, be able to retain clients longer? And they go, yes. And I go, okay, when do we meet?
Okay.
So, yes, as I said before, you can hear the tone of the body language transfers into the tone of voice. And the way to test that for yourself, try sitting back in a real comfortable chair with your feet up and try and lay the law down on somebody. You cannot. You've got to come up and straighten yourself up. You can tell whether somebody's standing up on the other end of the phone or sitting down. And so our physiology and neurology are permanently linked. So I will structure my body in a certain way if I want to get a certain message across when I'm talking.
Yeah, because if
I've got the face, it's easier.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned that. If I'm ever talking with a potential lead, I never sit down. I always actually get up and actually walk around while I'm talking to them on the phone. I find that ideas come a bit more quickly. Like I can talk in a more steady flow when I'm just up on my feet and walking around.
Yeah, because when you are moving around, you can actually walk with a rhythm, which gets your brain into that rhythm as well. That's why I was really happy when they brought out cordless telephones.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just walked around in a circle and got tied up with the cord.
Yeah.
And it was a desk phone.
Beautiful. Any more questions? Yeah. Beautiful. Look, Alan, thank you very much for that talk. It was insightful and I knew it would be. So I just want to, I'm actually going to stop the recording now, so bear with me.